I just can't believe that.
I don't understand what's right. I watched the whole thing.
Oh my God! What the hell did we just experience? This is just insane. This is insane. Oh my God! Each third monster was out of control. What's going to happen to our country? Oh my God!
Good evening and welcome to Steel Sharpens Steel. I'm Tom Cunningham.
And I am Chuck Hobbs.
We have joining us this evening with glasses and various other things, Joy Stevens.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
And Sharon Lettman-Hicks from Tallahassee.
We're about to get lit while we talk shit.
Now, what are you sipping on? It's a red. You both of our Delta contributors are drinking red. What are you drinking?
Hey, man. That's how we do.
No, I'm on that Uncle Nearest 1820 to be done.
Yeah, I've got the Uncle Nearest 1856. So let's jump into it. Clearly, this was not a high school debate forum. This was clearly something where President Trump decided he was going to be able to talk over Joe Biden until Chris Wallace had to put him in the naughty corner a couple of times. And either somebody on his team said into his little earpiece, you got to stop doing this because you're making yourself look bad. But what started out was a very contentious, full of interrupting. Donald Trump did not have the advantage of an audience that even once responded to any of his barbs, unlike some of the debates with Hillary Clinton, where he would toss a little vibe out there and the audience would roar back in response, feeding him and energizing him. He got crickets. A single person spoke at all during the entire exchange except Chris Wallace and Joe Biden. So, Chuck, what are your immediate takeaways about the entirety of the debate? And if you have any particular things you want to comment on directly, what would you have to say about that?
I was very disappointed in Chris Wallace to begin. He had talked all day about how he was going to handle this debate, and he had his questions, and he was touting how he would not insert himself at all. And truth be told, he actually did do that because he didn't insert himself at all. I think that when you have two alpha males like Donald Trump and Joe Biden, it is critical that the debate moderator takes control. I posted a meme at one point on my page on Facebook that had a picture of Samuel L. Jackson. And I basically had the caption of, this was the moderator that we needed. And we definitely needed somebody who had the cojones to be able to say, look, shut up. It's not your turn to talk. Quit cutting them off. And Tom, I saw that you commented once or twice that, you know, they needed to cut the mic, so to speak. And if we're going to have a second and a third debate, definitely there has to be some more measures of control, because this was out of control. I cannot think that over the course of an hour and a half that anyone was able to glean anything different that we did not already know. And I had kind of talked about that, y'all. We've talked about this over the last 6 weeks, which was, I'm not sure. I've always said, I'm not sure that Joe Biden should have even agreed to a debate with Donald Trump. And then now I'm seeing it. And again, we'll talk about it more as the evening goes off, but I was not impressed with the moderation. I was not impressed with the way the president behaved. I thought that many of the comments about Hunter Biden were below the pale. I was waiting for Joe to sashay across the stage and go sashay. Yeah, how Preston Brooks got on Charles Sumner in the Senate chambers back in 1856. I know that had it been my child and he had made those comments, Donald Trump would be looking for teeth right now. So again, but that comes back to moderation, and you've got to have a moderator who can control things. And I just don't think this format is best for Joe, because we all have talked about the fact that, and Joe has talked about the fact that he had a speech impediment when he was coming up, and you're dealing with a guy in Donald Trump. If he's nothing else, he's rapid fire. He's constantly moving. He's a moving target. And so there were times where I thought Joe made good points, but I also thought there were times where he was just overwhelmed. And you saw that with him saying, this guy needs to shut up. I counted that twice. I counted one time he said, this guy is a clown. And those to me were examples of somebody who's frustrated with who their debate opponent is.
Well, I will say, because everybody's nodding heads on screen, I will say that I thought Joe's strongest performance this evening was in a period where Chris had mollified the president enough so that he didn't interrupt him once. And he made a very passionate appeal directly to the screen. And the beginning of the debate, Joe definitely started a lot slower. He was a lot stumbly, but he did come into his own, I felt, somewhere maybe like about 30, maybe 20 minutes in, he kind of like caught fire and was unafraid to respond. Because before that point, it was basically Trump is lying and Joe is calling Trump a liar, which is not the best way to get your own points across. Joy, what would you say was a high point for you in terms of the exchanges? Did you feel that Trump scored any particularly strong blows against Biden? And what was your favorite point of Biden's rejoinder to a Trump dig?
Okay, so here's my analysis on this. I think that, of course, you're going to have people who are in Trump's base who are eating this up because they are the smaller kids standing behind the bully as he kicks someone. They are looking for that, talking over people, being disrespectful, calling people names, and they're like, "Yeah, get him, get him, get him." They're hyping him up from home. He couldn't hear it, and I think that was part of his frustration. I also think that Biden, for all of his foibles, and clearly he was frustrated. One of my friends made the comment, like the little the little laugh that he gave. That's the laugh you give right before you whoop somebody's tail. Like, boy, you already know about to come across the table on you. Like, I could feel him do it. I commend him for keeping his cool, but I was consistently and constantly worried that he was going to lose it and throw his hands up and say, "I can't do this," because you cannot debate with a crazy person, because Trump had no rules. He could say anything, and he frequently did make up numbers, make up statistics, cite his favorite source is many people. Many people said this, many people said that. I have good resources and I have good sources that say XYZ, no data, no backup, no nothing. And you can say it because they did start fact checking after the debate. I saw the things coming down the screen about the fact check immediately after, but it's too late because most people turn the debate off before the fact checking begins, and then they'll hear about it later and swear that it was spun. So I think Trump appealed to his base. I think anyone who was looking for a president did not see it in Donald Trump. If you had any sort of desire to see poise, stature, compassion, etc., I think he totally did not deliver on that. I think Biden gave you 48, maybe 52% of that, because he was frustrated as well. Now, here's the thing. You asked me what was my favorite part. When I had two. One was when, unfortunately, when Biden finally turned to look at Trump at the end of the debate, and he said, "My son was a hero. How dare you call them this? How dare you call them that?" And then Trump stumbled because he's a bully, and he went straight to, "I don't know, Bo. I know this one." You don't say that. Say that about a veteran. You don't say, "I don't know him," whatever. That was a fall for Trump, and I think he may have lost some people on that. But my favorite line, Putin's puppy. I'm putting that on a t-shirt. That's the best thing I heard all day.
So, Sharon, it's time for you to weigh in. Now, you have been a longtime political operative and a person who has counseled various candidates on their campaigns. What would you give in terms of a score for Joe Biden and for the president in terms of their performance this evening?
They come from extremely different ideologies. I think Joe was like a C+ for his audience, but could easily move into the B category. He has to decide he's going to stick him and stick him. He can't try to come in, come back out, allow him to throw us off his game. He's got to stick him. You can't fight a street fighter like a gentleman. It just doesn't happen that way. It's not the type of dynamic. We absolutely deserve better, but you can't get better when you're dealing with a street thug. Donald Trump is a con man. He is a street thug. He is a want-to-be mafia. He is a hood rat. So you can't offer a hood rat a clean doorstep. It's not going to work because he's going to sucker punch you at any cost. Now, as a street thug, Donald Trump gets an A. Substance, he gets a D- because he has no substance.
Right.
The best thing that Joe Biden was willing to do was just call him a liar. Just call him a clown. Putin's puppets. I mean, he did not, and he should have kept doing it. He could have done it strategically. He didn't have to go batshit like Donald Trump. Donald Trump looked desperate. So when he had him on the face, it was like a rope-a-dope. But he didn't keep sticking him. There's a gentleman's stick. And you got to have a certain suave about you to just stick a motherfucker and just keep sticking them. So I'm sorry. Okay, let me get my glass. That means I'm supposed to take a pause. But they say when you have in an interview, you just take a sip.
Yeah, there you go. I would say two things. One, I actually thought if you compare Chris Wallace in terms of some other moderators who have tried to challenge Trump on overspeaking, I think Chris Wallace actually challenged him more than most. It's just that Trump was pushing every single moment. And it took Chris Wallace a lot longer, but there were moments where literally
Chris Wallace wanted to drop a motherfucker too. Now
he did. He was
okay.
very.
If he had access to the mic, that mic would have went off, and he'd be like, "Look, motherfucker, let me be clear. This ain't no children's show. Goddamn it, this is goddamn Facebook.
I guess this just turned into after.
Your kids should be in bed. Goddamn it."
So, we're talking about the future of our country.
We are talking about a street thug. We ain't talking about the future of America. We're talking about democracy versus dictatorship. You can't come to a fucking gunfight with goddamn chopsticks. It don't work that way.
Much less Chinese chopsticks. So that
you said it, I didn't.
Okay, so we are getting a lot of heat in the comments, and that's great because everybody
brag it. We got all goddamn night.
Everybody is enjoying. Sharon is going straight in. So
look, I got 4 more of these bottles up in this bitch.
So one of the things that I thought was danced off of, and Chris did set the topics in advance, and so the startling revelations of the New York Times story were not able to be as effectively inserted as I thought they might. I think in any other situation, if the topics had not been said ahead of time, you naturally would have had to lead with the New York Times article since it was such a bombshell. Joe tried, and Joe did make some hay out of the 750. Both he and Kamala released their tax records today, indicating that Joe had paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes in the last tax year. And we have not seen Trump's latest filings, but we did see 2016 and 2017. Now, Trump brought up fake news. He brought up that he paid millions in taxes. The way to figure that out is to simply release your taxes, which he has not done. Mm-hmm. Chuck, how did you feel that Joe landed in terms of those blows? Do you think he did himself any good? And did you think that he did any damage to Trump as regards the issue of tax returns?
On the issue of tax returns, no, I don't think he actually landed a solid punch. But interestingly enough, I don't think that Joe had to land a solid punch on taxes because the punch was landed when the report was issued by the New York Times this past weekend. You know, a lot of people seem to misconstrue one major issue with the tax piece, which is, you know, I see a lot of comments on social media and the traditional media sites where people are asking, well, wait a minute, was it illegal what Donald Trump did with regards to paying $750 in 2016 and 2017? And I think that misses the point. It very well could be legal. We don't know. There are a number of tax lawyers I have had a chance to listen to over the last few days that have disagreed over whether this was legal or not. But the question is, this is a man who has touted himself since 2015 as being this uber rich billionaire. Those who supported him over other principled conservatives in the Republican Party that ran for that nomination in 2016, they tended to, at least they claimed to say they supported Donald Trump because he's a businessman and because he would make the country great for business. And now we realize that that was a canard from the beginning, that a charade, whatever other word that you want to look for, he has not been a good businessman. He has been a failure. Now, many of us already knew that. We knew about Trump University. We knew about the fact that he was highly leveraged. We all sensed, even though we could not prove, that half the reason that he has been reticent to punch back at Putin or really talk too much trash about the banking industry in Germany is because we tend to believe that in Erdogan over in Turkey, we've all understood that his business interests were very much dependent upon those outside entities because, as our family brother William Pierce said the other day, most business people in the United States of America, particularly bankers, would not touch Donald Trump with a 10-foot pole. So with regards to this taxes, the reason he hasn't revealed them Every other presidential candidate for every race I have watched since 1980 has always released their tax returns. The reason he didn't release his is because he knew that had he released them in 2015 and 2016, we would have all seen that he was a fraud. Or like we used to say in Florida, he was flogging. He's not the businessman that he's claiming to be. And I have a real big issue coming up with the fact that if he is reelected, is he compromised? And I would submit that he is compromised going forward in 2021 and 22, because he has what, almost $500 million in loans that are to come through.
It's 410 million that are due within the next 3 to 4 years. Personal loans.
Absolutely. That's a problem.
They did not go in.
Well, I don't think that Joe hit a knockout blow on that. I do realize that Donald Trump was already knocked out for most rational Americans prior to taking the stage tonight. Only the true believers actually believed well, I'm glad he only paid $750. I wish I only had to pay $750. No, that's not how this really works. And again, that's kind of where I am on that.
Well, it's
the strategy. I want to jump in and respond to Chuck. The strategy should have been, this is what he paid to Panama. This is what he paid to this country. And all he gave the country that we elected him to leave was $750. Then they needed to juxtapose what all the other presidents paid in. And then they should talk about what firefighters pay in, what nurses pay in, what teachers pay in, what garbage collectors pay in, what the lawn man pays in. They did not do a good job at bringing home. You know, we are highly intelligent people on this. And I'm the biggest hood rat on this group. So, and I read the New York Times. The average Joe does not read the New York Times. We needed to bring it home. We needed to lay in on the juxtaposition of what it looks like to average America on paying federal income tax at $750, and you claim to be this mega billionaire. And they needed to pounce it. And then, Joe, this is a sucker punch. He would have said, really? Release your taxes. You asked Barack Obama to release his birth certificate. You released your taxes. He wanted to pay to the base with black people. We'd have been in there like, yeah. He needs to hit it hard.
I think one of the good things about tonight's debate is that we saw what Trump's lines of attacks are. And whereas he is not inclined to change anything up because he loves sticking, he even threw out Pocahontas tonight. Joe has time to retool, and Kamala has time to show Joe some of the things he needs to say. One of the most surprising things to me is that he dared bring up Hunter Biden when one of the revelations of the New York Times article is that he was illegally paying Ivanka millions of dollars in consultant fees to reduce his tax liability. And let's be clear,
bring that up.
Even though the $750 is an amount that people can cling to because it's easy to quantify, it's easy to put into place. The real story is that he may be up under another $100 million in back taxes and fees because of his lies. All of these were not legal tax dodges. And the biggest one that is under scrutiny right now, the thing in fact that has caused him to stay under audit for so many years, is that he claimed a $70 million refund, $2 million in interest on the payment that he made. And if he has to pay that back because it's proven fraudulent, he will owe $100 million because of the interest on that $72 million that he's held from the company and the country. And Wesley Snipes will tell you, if you don't pay that tax bill, you're going to jail. You are going straight
and that should have been brought home.
And that needs to be brought home. That's the point. Go ahead, Joy.
Al Capone went to jail for tax fraud. He murdered hundreds or dozens of people, but he went to jail on them taxes and died in jail. We can only hope. But here's the thing.
Of syphilis. Capone died of syphilis. Let's be clear.
Died in jail.
Yeah, of syphilis.
He died in jail. Anyway, tax evasion. The IRS don't play. They don't care who you are. They don't care what you plead. They don't care how you try to dodge it. They will come after you and they will bring guns if they have to. And I'm looking forward to that, actually. But here's the other thing. Matter of fact, I heard somebody talking about this on the air, that we are all concerned that Trump wants to stay in power to do this, patriotic education and removing Obamacare and placing judges. If he stays in office, he cannot be tried in lower courts. I think, he's trying to stay in office so he don't go to jail. So now he is desperate. And a desperate person will do anything, even unleash all these militias across the country in order to stay in power and stay out of jail. And you don't back, you mentioned that he's a hood rat earlier. You don't back a wild animal into a corner. It's going to get ugly. It's going to get very ugly.
You know, I'm listening to a podcast now that talks about the rise of Silvio Berlusconi. And when Silvio first ran for office, he ran for office to avoid being caught up in a crackdown that was taking place in his country. And he has a very similar story. Overly concerned with his image, came to power as a TV magnate and a real estate developer, put in a lot of his cronies in office, was rather quickly ushered out of office, but then rebounded and went on to lead the country for a while until a major sex scandal pulled him down. You see the parallels I'm making. But tonight, one of the things, to your point, Joy, that I thought was another missed opportunity was all of the things that we were talking about, all of the things that Trump was saying. And Joe was either not prepared or not deft enough to say, this is something that I can punch right back on. And he didn't take advantage of that opportunity. There wasn't a moment, gotcha, Chuck, where Joe had the, well, you'd be in jail, Hillary, like moment that Trump had. And Joe does need to be able to, even if he just has a little sheet there that says, here's a one-liner. I need him to be able to look at that one-liner soundboard and cut him when he needs to. Take it, Chuck.
Yeah, you know, one of our frat brothers in one of our groups, Colonel Fred Black, made a comment as to whether or not Joe Biden should even participate in the next two debates. I will continue to say I don't think that there's anything that could be gained from it, but I know that he will, because he's no coward and he will show back up. But Tom, you hit it right on the head. The lack of deft ability to be able to counterpunch, that was very obvious to me. And I think part of that is because Joe Biden, prior to becoming a young senator, was a lawyer. The rules in court are different than what Donald Trump plays by. When lawyers are in court and arguments are being made, plaintiff gets his opportunity or her opportunity to present, defense counsel gets their opportunity to present. And if one is trying to overtalk the other, the judge will step in, and if it gets too bad, will threaten contempt of court to one litigant or the other. Chris Wallace, being as inept as he was tonight, the problem is that every time Joe tried to get the engine going, so to speak, maybe to counterpunch, you had Trump, who was over talking him, making the little nasty comments, the snide remarks. And Joe, I was able to notice tonight, he just simply does not have the ability to deal with that. And that was a question, y'all, I asked the other day on Facebook. Would Joe be able to withstand the schoolyard antics, so to speak, of Donald Trump? And if I had to grade it, I would say he failed in that regard, because Trump was constantly just nagging, making comments, making dirty comments, talking about Hunter Biden, talking about this, talking about that. And I think it flustered Joe and kind of threw him off his game for his ability to be able to counterpunch on things that are layups, to use a basketball euphemism. The $750, that's a layup. That's not a difficult shot to make. Being able to talk about your own children being on the payroll, layup. Being able to talk about your own kids taking over your businesses, and that too might be tax fraud, layup. Those are things that if he had been able to stay on his feet and stay steady, Joe Biden might have been able to land some punches, but he wasn't able to tonight. And again, I have some grave concerns about his ability to continue to deal with Trump, because again, everything that he's ever done is going against him right now. Sharon hit it on the head. You've got a guy who is going to hold no punches, so to speak, Donald Trump, whereas Biden has been in the Senate for 47 years, or as a vice president during that same period of time. And before then, he was a trial lawyer, where there is a sort of courtly way, so to speak, a sort of decorum. Donald Trump has no decorum like that.
Yeah, and I think that I do think that Joe has it in him to take him. I think he was afraid that if he let loose, he wouldn't be able to pull himself up. So I can understand that because I've been there. I can tell that
this evening.
That was just the opener, dear. I could tell that he was struggling with just how hard to stick him. He had the right vocabulary. Every time he called him a liar or
a clown,
stupid, a clown. I love the clown thing. You're just a clown, Putin's puppet. He had his zingers. But I honestly believe he got to a point where he's like, if I start down this road, I'm going to be reduced to his level. Because Joe got that level in him. Don't sleep.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he has a choice I see some of the comments in the box and people are like, neither one of them deserve my vote. That's what I fear. I fear that people get so turned off that they disengage. This is not the time to disengage. This is a time that we've got to just take one for the Gipper. We've got to get in here because let's talk about what's really at stake. I mean, democracy is at stake, plain and simple. There was so much to stick him with about his taxes, to bring a parallel to what that means. This is the man, the most powerful man in the world, supposedly saying that it is not worth investing in my own country that I have been chosen to lead because all y'all money is my money. That's what he said to me. He said everybody's money belongs to him and he's above having to invest in us. And he's making all these fake promises right now, but dictatorship is his only desire. He can't stand Congress. He can't stand negotiating with these people. It's these people, it's them people. Mm-hmm. Okay. And he is just tolerating all of us, trying to get to a place where it's his way or no way. And he has already demonstrated that. Whenever people start there's nothing to rationalize. This person has told you who he was from day one. He has shown you who he is from day one. He's not going to get any different. They can't remove him. They didn't know how to remove him. Look, I'm gonna get a little intelligent for a minute. I stayed up the other night and watched the 2-hour story of John Robert Lewis on CNN Films. If there is nothing that any Black person does between now and Election Day, they need to watch that documentary. From him talking to the chickens and picking cotton, this man died a few weeks ago, to being the beloved member of Congress. But the way they told the story, each one of us should see what's happening right now during the Black Lives Matter protests that just happened when this young man, with all of us who started out young, was in the street with Martin Luther King. He was the prodigy. He was the young man that just wanted to take a step forward. He was the courageous leader that wrote MLK and got put on the forefront, but he was a living legend. But the way that they told that documentary, the way that they brought it so crystal clear, there is nothing going on today that wasn't going on during the March on Washington for freedom and jobs. I mean, everything about that era we are living, and we have to see the sacrifice that they made. They educated us on the whole nonviolence regime. They showed them, I don't even know how there was that many cameras around back then. They showed them getting drugged in the street, bottles on their head, everything that we saw with the tear gas that our young people and older people and allies are in the street doing right now for BLM. It was so emblematic. It took my breath away because I also saw how he decided to go from organizer. It showed him knocking on doors, registering people to vote with Julian Bond, who he took out a few years later. And then they sat with interviews together. Well, no, our friendship is not the same, but they had the wherewithal to sit and be interviewed together. It was so emblematic of the responsibility that we have as Gen X and millennials and then these new Y kids. If nothing else, if we need a dose of reality, it's not roots. It's not going back that far. It is right here and now. This man whose documentary was done and told with Elijah Cummings opening it up. It was amazing. Died a few weeks ago. And to the very end of the breath, standing on the paved road to the White House on Black Lives Matter Street, we cannot be so removed that we don't understand that. And I'll get more current. All of us were around election 2000. Mm-hmm. Just because W wasn't some hood rat thug, he was still a thug. And we forgive him now because it's actually somebody worse. Everybody don't forgive him. But the reality is I was on the ground in Florida. I was on the ground for them 36 days waiting on election the Supreme Court decided. I was there watching Jesse Jackson getting pushed back by barricades in Palm Beach County because the OK Corral, that's now the organized militias, pushing us back when we were trying to step forward to make sure the ballots got counted. That was 20 years ago, people. And we were activists then. What we experienced then that we were like, oh my God, I remember me and Kendrick Meeks sitting in the war room like, what the fuck is happening? What's happening now is going to be 10 times worse. And it's going to happen right here in the state of Florida. We need to fight thug with thug. We cannot be these prima donnas like, oh my God, because the police ain't with us either. We done piss them off. So we've got to, that's why I said y'all need to watch that documentary, because for our votes to really count, we've got to be able to put some skin in the game. This ain't no okey doke, diplomatic, we can hope for the best, let's overturn out. We got to fight for our freedom, people. And this is not a scare tactic. This is a reality check. If you've been out in them streets for BLM, plan to be out in them streets now. And some of us that wasn't out in them streets need to get on our boots and get our ass in the street. Because this is judgment day for many people. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We're going to drop the link and information on that documentary in the chat by the close of the program, because we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to do that. But what I'd like to do is take a moment now to talk about something that particularly made you upset about something that Trump said. Trump said a nonstop super train of lies, but what your single moment was that really took you over the edge. And I'll tell you, for my part, the thing that really grated my nerves is when he tried to claim that Obama and Biden left 100+ judges for him to fill, as though they were trying to leave them for Hillary Clinton, when it was Mitch McConnell blocking the appointments of those judges, up to and including Merrick Garland, who of course was denied even the opportunity to be vetted or put down on the floor for an up or down vote. So that incensed me. What was that moment for you? We can start with Chuck. What was it that made you feel, you know what, I know that this is a street dude, he's a street thug, he's trying his little tactics. What was the thing that really set you off tonight?
On an emotional level, the low blows about Hunter Biden bothered me. On an intellectual level, there were two things that what he did not say as opposed to what he said. Specifically, when he was asked about job loss under his administration, and not just job losses, but the fact that the first 3 years of his administration did not equal the number of jobs that were created on the last 3 years of the Obama administration. And he completely went over that question. He did not want to respond to it. He pivoted to something else. Second thing that bothered me from an intellectual standpoint that also is somewhat emotional also is he never answered the question about white supremacy. He dodged it like he dodged the draft back in 1966, 67, and 1968. He does not want to have that discussion. And I actually thought that was the one punch that Joe landed solid to the jaw, which was, no, you're a racist. So many people these days like to dance around that topic. They like to say, well, I'm not saying you're a racist. Or like our brother Andrew Gillum hit Ron DeSantis with during the debates 2 years ago. I'm not saying you're a racist. The racist was saying you're a racist. And that was appropriate for then. But with Donald Trump, no, you're a racist. And at the end of the day, the record is clear. When you're talking about Charlottesville, as Joe, again, he hit a solid punch in the jaw with that in regards to, listen, you called both sides good people on both sides. There are no both sides. There are no good people that are Klansmen and or neo-Nazis that were talking about the Jews will not replace us. A person died out there. And I was, again, we got to see who we always knew him to be. I mean, those of us who knew about him being a slumlord and him discriminating against blacks, we knew about the Central Park Five and how he called for the death penalty for the exonerated Central Park Five. Those of us who knew about the shithole countries comments, all of the things that he's done through the years, there's no question who he is. And that the other thing that bothers me on this same line is it frustrates me to the height of apoplexy anytime Republicans start off discussions about what they have done for the blacks with prison or prison reform, as if that is the only issue that we as a group of people actually care about. It is an important issue, no doubt about it, but it is insulting to all of us, particularly those of us who have never seen the inside of a jail or a prison, to be reduced to that's what I did for y'all. Since I'm letting y'all out of prison. What else do you all want? I had problems with that.
Right. Joy, what was your big moment of unresolved angst against Trump's lies?
I had a problem, and some of the people I've noticed in the chat room have said the same thing. What struck me the most was when they caught him and asked him to specifically call out white supremacists as a problem and denounce them and tell the militias to stand down. And right then he said, you could see the deer in the headlights look that he gave, like, oh crap, I don't want to do this. And you got the moderator, you got Joe Biden, but I said, like, say it then. Why don't you say it? And I thought that was probably one of Joe's best moments. So I said, well, go ahead and say it then. He's like, what do you want me to say? And they repeated, and he said, yeah, all those militias out there, stand back. And the stand back was very sarcastic, very facetious. Yeah, stand back and stand by. Yes, stand by. That got me, because I'm like, he didn't say stand down. He said basically hold back until I call you again. And then he said, I want my people to be at the polls watching elections. Those people aren't qualified. They're not certified. They're not even supposed to be. It's illegal to be there, interfering with other people's election process. And he has basically said, stay there until I tell you to go. And then I'm going to tell you when to go, and you go. So that stand by, to me, was an undercover signal. Not very undercover at all, but actually that bothered me, because I felt like he was still enabling all these crazy folks, because I live in Georgia, all these crazy folks outside Fulton County are going to be standing by now. And that endangers my life directly if I try to go vote.
It was interesting. He kept chiding Joe Biden on saying, well, if you say that, you're going to lose the loony left. And when it came down to him saying something that could have impacted his base, he sat there and abba-dabba-dabba'd and really danced around the issue, because he knows that he's in trouble with those groups. He came out and said with the Platinum Plan, he was going to promise to label the KKK a terrorist group. That's not something that's going to endear him to his base. And he talked about Antifa, never said Boogaloo, never said Proud Boys.
Or QAnon.
Never said any of those groups, all of whom have been directly attributed to some of the violence. Boogaloo groups putting out stacks, little pyramids of bricks out in the violence. And the first person apprehended during the George Floyd arson violence, a white man in blackface. Sharon, I'm going to give you your chance. Hopefully you've had another half bottle. What was your moment of really strong anger about something that Trump said tonight?
Definitely the denouncing of his son, especially when he wanted to conflate Bo situation with the other son. I don't know
Bo. I know Hunter.
I wasn't. That was probably the lowest blow. That was like indecent. Everything else I expected. I think I was more disappointed with our inability to stick him back effectively in a way that he did it for a moment. He did like this litany of issues on Trump. That's what throws Trump off his game. And I felt that, and Chris Wallace was trying to help him out every now and then. The way that they could have tore him to shreds about Obamacare. And they did, they tried to do it. And he kept saying, I have a plan. I would have broken it down. I was like, man, you had a plan. You've been saying you have a plan from day 1, day 30, year 2, year 5. I would have just made him look like an idiot by just hammering. Right. Every single thing. You ain't got to shout him down. You just got to call him on his shit. You can't just allow him to go and just do a little, You got to just beat his ass. You cannot acquiesce, because he gets thrown off his game when he can't come in on all the rhetoric about his flaws. He does that. A narcissist cannot handle you reducing them with their failures. So you can't just go, boo. You got to be like, ba, 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 ba. And then watch him just sit there and try to get pose. And the minute he comes back, he goes, ba, 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 ba. You got narcissists have to be fucked up in order for them to really fail, because you give them too much recovery time. And then he understood that. So he just kept coming back in, just trying to throw. His game is, let me keep interrupting you because you're poised, you're a gentleman. So if I keep interrupting you, you can't focus. You got to whoop that ass. You cannot give him any oxygen in order to continue to just regurgitate his falsehoods and just saying you're lying. That you got to be specific with his lies.
Two things occur to me just after that exchange. One, nobody in the chat ever wants to get into a fight with Sharon. And two, one of the things that was really amazing to me about some of the things that Trump was saying, because again, all he was doing was lying. Literally, all he was doing was lying. And Biden didn't hit back with, you're such a good businessman that your charity had to be shuttered while you were president.
Thank you.
Your son didn't handle it.
You got it.
My son, blows. Your son lost your own charity. You're talking about problems that I have in my family. I don't think there was a single person who watched that RNC day where Don Jr. and his very loud girlfriend didn't think that they were blazed on coke. So you're talking about various problems my children have. Your children and their girlfriends have been raking in millions of dollars paid by your campaign, and not for nothing. Your recently fired campaign manager is now alleged to have stolen $40 million from your campaign, which is incorporated into the $175 million that were spent with his quote unquote disassociated firm. There's lots of stuff there. And it did seem like for too long in the debate, Biden was trying to abide by whatever the rules were. And he did pause rather than strike back. He did tend to pause and wait for Chris to kind of rescue him, which he did a couple of times. But then when he finally started punching, he didn't land as effectively as he could because he wasn't anticipating well enough the tropes that Trump was going to throw out, so he could very quickly sucker punch, counter punch, and get his vibe and his mojo back during the course of the conversation. Chuck, I'm going to give you a chance here. Where do you think we go forward, moving on to the next debate that all of us are going to see, which is, of course, Kamala Harris and Mike Pence? What are you anticipating from Senator Harris, who is probably going to be somewhat reinvigorated because she is temporarily slowing down her campaign duties in order to be a part of the Amy Coney Barrett confirmation hearings?
Right. I believe that Kamala Harris will be classy, as she always is, and I think that she comes in as the main contender, so to speak, here for the debates. Anyone who has had an opportunity to watch her in Senate committee hearings can see how she was a great trial lawyer during her era. Whether you liked her or not, in regards to her being a prosecutor or not, that's not the point. She is good when she cross-examines, when she asks questions. It is pretty clear that she has command of the room, and I anticipate that she will be able to acquit herself extremely well against Mike Pence. Pence has one problem heading in, which is, frankly, he's boring. When I listen to Mike Pence talk, he has the same issue to me that Ben Carson has, which is I want to fall asleep within 5 to 6 minutes of listening to them talk about anything. And, so with that, he is going to be at the disadvantage, but I don't anticipate that the Harris-Pence debate will be anywhere as caustic as tonight's Trump-Biden debate. I'm going to have a hard time falling asleep tonight because, again, that was nerve-wracking. I had never seen anything like that before. I'm not sure if we ever will again, because the next debate, again, I'm not sure that Joe Biden is going to participate in the next two go-arounds. I would be interested to see what happens, but I don't see where it benefits him. It's clear that he is the classier of the two individuals, and unless you're going to have a debate moderator that will be able to cut the mic. I have seen a number of comments tonight about, can you throw the switch? And Tom, you talked about that a lot while we were live blogging earlier today. I don't know, but if you don't, you have to have somebody who can mute this president, and I just don't see it happening. He's just like the schoolyard bully, but the problem is when you had a schoolyard bully, if you punch the schoolyard bully in the mouth, the bullying stopped. You can't punch Donald Trump in the mouth. I don't think Joe has to do that at this age. I don't think he can get across the stage that quickly to hit him. And I'm not sure I want to see two septuagenarians scrap in the middle of a stage.
You can punch him in the ego. You can punch him in the ego.
You can, and you know what? I think if Sharon is on Biden's debate prep team, he might just get sophisticated.
Call me. Call me.
We have a person who said they want Sharon for the next moderator.
Y'all don't want me to moderate nothing.
I co-sign that. I will say before I turn it over to Joy, I do disagree with you, Chuck, on the idea that he has nothing to gain by being in the debate, because one thing that he does have to gain, the debates are going to happen. And what you're not going to do is give Trump an hour and a half to bloviate around stage and just be an idiot. Not the least.
Sleepy Joe, he's taking a break. He's taking a nap. He will go in for 90 minutes.
And that is going to be the narrative that's coming both out of the camp, and you're going to have people, even friendly people like George Stephanopoulos, saying things like, I can't believe that Joe Biden is left off this opportunity to address the nation, given that he can't do very many rallies and things of this nature. I think it's an impossible choice to say that Joe could opt out of the debates. However, I do think he's got this week off because the next debate is with Kamala. I think he needs to sit with Kamala. Joy was saying earlier that he needs a black woman in debate prep to help get them sticks in. And I think that would be very helpful. But I do think that he's got to stick with it. This is the bed that has been made for him. This is the way of the nation. He doesn't really have a choice to participate. Joy, you had your finger up. I know you want to say something. Go to it.
I was going to say the same thing you said, is that he cannot sit out the next debate. We are looking at a situation where, unfortunately, because of the way society has evolved over the last, since the advent of, 24-hour news cycle, reality TV, etc., we want to see this bloody fight. And anybody that doesn't show up is a coward, and he loses critical points in the polls if he doesn't show up to the debate. Even if he shows up and does what he did today and it tries to take the high ground, I do think that he could absolutely score some points if he gets a couple of jabs in, right below the belt. Some stuff that Trump won't be able to deny, like tonight, the thing with the white supremacists. Why won't you say that? If you notice, Trump kept coming back to Hunter and that $3.5 million that's already been debunked. Doesn't matter if it's debunked. He can stand there and just scream, why did he take that money over and over and over and over and over and over again, and make people question, well, why did he take that money? Even though Biden is standing there saying this isn't true. I think we do need to have fact checkers during, like a running ticker during the debate next time, so that we can say this is a lie, just hashtag lie all the way across. But I think I would love
that would be a boring ticker whenever Trump is
right. Just lie. Just it's a lie at this point.
Lie, lie.
I would love to see Gayle King as a moderator. She handled R. Kelly. I think she can handle him, because even tonight, your boy Wallace was not prepared for someone to be so out of control and to not abide by the rules and to have no respect for the process. At one point, it sounded like George Wallace was, it sounded like he was explaining to him, Chris Wallace, explaining to him, this is how a debate works.
Right.
You get time and then he gets time and you have to be quiet. And unfortunately, you see Trump's lifelong love affair with privilege come through, where he's like, no, I'm going to talk because I want to, because I can. I'm the president. I do what I want. I'm going to talk over everybody. Like we started our debate, our piece today, just blah, 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 la, 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 la. I'm not listening. He makes that. And if you notice, everything he said was a deflection. He never answered a question directly. Every question was, yeah, I got that, but did you know this happened over here?
A deflection and a sucker
everything
punch.
was
right.
Smoke and mirrors. And I do think that Biden, I think he should debate him again. I think that, it's not his supporters that we're after. It's those undecideds that are looking for their president. And I think Trump continues to show that he is a bully. He has not a presidential piece of skin on his flabby body, nowhere.
Or otherwise.
Yeah, or otherwise. I think that, again, we're dealing with, neither is ideal. Ain't nobody gonna have swag like Obama. And a lot of people had Obama for 8 years, and now they're looking for that. You ain't gonna get that. Not in this election, probably not in the next one. You got to understand, this is not two equal things. One is talking about progress and actual plans, and the other one is screaming fear and rhetoric and saying what he is and ain't gonna damn do. And that is not who you want. With his finger on the button, with a phone call to all sorts of foreign dignitaries and powers. He could say whatever to anybody. He's promised all kind of nonsense. He doesn't mean any of it. Where's the wall that Mexico is supposed to pay for? He just says stuff and then he walks away knowing that you're going to remember. Again, this is smart. This is the smartest thing that Trump does. And I know this from my time in sales. People don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. And I have taught people how to be good salespeople behind that. And he is very good at getting people to feel like they're backing a winner when they back him. Never mind what he says, they can feel good in themselves. Yeah, he got him. He really stuck it to that Joe tonight. Joe was flustered. Like that one moment where he's like, oh, you're going 2, not 3. His base is going to remember that. Oh, he really got Joe at that point. Doesn't matter what kind of lies he's spreading after that. And all of this serves to, again, weaken our democracy, because you got people, again, they're voting, they're looking at this like it's The Apprentice or Dancing with the Stars or something. You know, they're going to vote based on the performance that they see. And that nobody's reading these plans. Nobody's going, no, I take that back. A lot of people are, but I worry about that critical mass of people that are just going to vote based on, you know, who's hot in the streets on Twitter today. And that could be a disaster.
You know, I'm going to put this out one more time because this is something that somewhat infuriates me. And that's just the automatic light. I didn't put on the Darth Vader filter or anything. People keep talking about the base. Everybody knows his base is going to vote for him.
Right.
This is not about the base. The base is baked into the cake. This is about 77,000 votes that put him over last time. This is about Obama Biden voters who voted for Trump because they couldn't vote for Hillary. This is about Jill Stein voters who didn't vote for Hillary because they thought Hillary had it in the bag and so they could do a little protest vote across those states. This is not about the base. And when we allow it to be about the base, we underestimate the real power and strength of the electorate that is ready to vote this man out of office. So I don't want to be a part of the problem of saying, oh, he's got this base of support. Yeah, that's 41%. 41% is a lot less than 50. And it's a lot less than was going to be necessary to turn the Electoral College, especially with the fortunes. To put not too fine a point on it, he has killed almost 3 times his margin of victory in this country. And it's not all Black people. It's some old people. Old people are important to him. And old people are not happy about their Social Security being cut. They are not happy about people fiddling with their prescription Part D. They're not happy with a lot of things. They're not happy about veterans being called cowards and losers. There's a lot of constituencies that put him over the edge. And when you have people like Mike Bloomberg reenfranchising 32,000 voters in Florida, when you have Georgia as a toss-up on the Senate seat with Kelly Loeffler, when Jamie Harrison, for an unknown reason, probably because Lindsey Graham is an inveterate flip-flopper, pushing ahead and turning South Carolina into a toss-up, there are opportunities here. And what we need to do is mobilize people. I thought Joe had a very strong statement at the end, encouraging people to vote now, encouraging people not to wait, encouraging people to take advantage of their opportunities to get their votes counted. That is the sort of messaging that directly speaks to people. And that's one of the things that Trump did not do. Trump was on the attack and was focusing almost all of his energy about Joe. Joe was focusing the lion's share, not 100%, but more of his energy was speaking directly to the people. Can you believe this man only paid $750 in taxes? Can you believe he's going to take away pre-existing conditions? And what I thought was one of his strongest points was when he said, are you looking across the table at an empty seat because somebody in your family died of COVID?
Yeah.
Do you have a grandmother you can't talk to or someone you couldn't even see in their last moments? You had to talk to them on a cell phone through a glass door because you could not be close to them. Those are the sorts of messages that resonate. And it's not, whoever was watching tonight, and I don't know who it was, I don't know what the ratings are going to be, but the people I think who were watching are those that are interested, at least part of them, in seeing who is actually better prepared to carry the country. And Joe's consistent message was, this guy doesn't know what he's doing and he cannot lead.
He doesn't have a plan.
He doesn't have a plan. And
never had a plan.
And to this point, you can tell that Mitch wasn't even serious about it, because Mitch had 6 years under Obama to create a new plan. But he didn't even want to do that because Mitch doesn't care about these people. He's had 10 years to put a replacement plan together, and there isn't an opening paragraph. Sharon, take it.
Okay. I have written a passage for Donnie. I've written Joe's closing argument. Donnie, it is what it is because you are who you are. You are the worst president that America has ever had. It's really hard to get any word in with this clown. The best thing you can do is to stand there and simply shut the fuck up. You are Putin's puppy, and we need to remind you that this is America, the home of the free and the brave. So kick rocks and get the fuck out of the way.
I think minus some fucks, and that's my first F-bomb of the evening, and I don't even have a glass in my hand. Minus those two, I think that was a great paragraph, and I think if that messaging can go out and people can adopt that frame of him, that's the sort of thing that can really help.
That's how you just get on the...
Yeah, because...
you just bring it!
And somebody said that was a strong line, Sharon.
So, that's my girl. Hey, Andrea.
So,
Sister Oliver.
We have been on for an hour, and we've had this has been one of our most successful streams. I want to give everybody an opportunity to go around the table, give some closing thoughts about whatever you want to say about not only this evening, but about the state of the race, what you're looking forward to in the next just about 30 days, guys. We are 30 and change away from the most important election in our nation's history. What do you have to say? I'm going to start with Joy, who hasn't spoken in a moment. Take us away.
Okay, so anybody that knows someone that isn't planning to vote, anybody that is over the age of 18, I need you to drag their asses out of the house and get them to vote. This really is just that serious. I'm not one given to hyperbole. I'm not one given to fear mongering. But when I tell you that you need to vote like your life depends on it, this is where we are. Vote in person. If I had to tell you one thing, get out and vote early and vote in person. Don't even let them start this narrative about mail-in ballots and whatnot. Go sometime between when early voting starts before November 3rd and get your vote in on record in person, and let's turn this election around. I really do think we're at a pivot point in this country where we either become the greatest selves that we can be, or we just throw it all away. And that's where I'm at. So get your booties to the polls.
Sharon, wait, we got to unmute you, Sharon.
I'm got to go again. Okay, so for real, we have 10 days to register people to vote. Okay, I think it's October 9th. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it depends. I know I've seen October 5th, so
we'll go with October 5th. We got a few more days to register people to vote. So make these 6 days beneficial. I love Sister Annette Stokes. She's just been in there like, look, vote. And we have to give people a reason to vote. I mean, it's a straight shit show out there. And just to get real serious, we got 6 good days to register people to vote. And we got to get people to the polls. Put on your mask. Look, I wear goggles and a mask. I done bought a hazmat suit. I will pick anybody up and take them to vote. I'm not about this mail-in stuff. If you got to mail it in, walk it in, because they can gerrymander your signature. We had a big rejection problem in 2018. Mm-hmm. You need to make sure you do everything you can to protect your vote. If you could drive across town and drop it off at the white precinct, do that. At the early vote station. This man intends on electoral chaos, period. But between watching the John Lewis doc, which you will not be able to walk away from, it is that good, and doing everything you can to register a few more people in the next few days, and going out and voting early. Early vote was created for us, especially in the state of Florida. Go and cast your vote. As somebody said, if I can go to the grocery store, I can go pick up takeout, They are very responsible. I always vote at my precinct, and I work early voting precinct stations. But I don't. Everything. This was fun. This was real. The people that's in the middle, that's unsure, you need to be the reason that they vote. You need to sit them down, because the crap that's going on by these sides, or lack thereof, we have to use our influence. We've got to use the impression that we have on people. Chuck, you got a huge pulpit. Inbox each person individually. Did you register to vote? You registered your kids? I saw your kid is in college. Did you make sure they registered to vote? We got to do whatever we can. Those of us, especially with pulpits and our influencers, we got to take it back to the grassroots. I'm a shoe leather person. So, all that walking y'all be doing that I admire, I wish I could walk. Walk, knock on a few doors, say, hey, it's me, Chuck. Hey, it's me, D. You registered to vote? Your kids registered to vote? I'm keeping going. You can come walk with me. I can walk you to the polls. Whatever we got to do, we got to go back to street politics. We got to go back to our ancestors who boycotted buses and walked. All we doing is emulating what they did. So we need to fight for our right to vote and our vote to be counted like they did. They created this opportunity for us. We can't allow it to be hijacked just simply because we too bougie or we too comfortable, because this comfort is going to be taken away by, slowly but surely it's being peeled back. Slowly but surely. And it is that simple. We've got to vote for us. I don't give a damn. We got to vote for us. You got to vote for who you at least know is going to bring some decency. One last thing. One thing I do want to make a point to, especially Bernie people and people who just, if you want a chance to actually protest and not be tear gassed, then vote for Biden. If you want a chance to protest and not be clubbed in the street, and have an opportunity that the National Guard is not coming in to hurt you, but to help you, and that actually protest that you can bring about some change, especially if you don't have any good reason to vote for the Democrats, is that you will at least have a greater opportunity to be heard. If this man gets reelected, all bets are off. There's no negotiation. There's no chit. Because he don't need your vote no more. All he's going to be doing is trying to erase democracy. As he's already said, I want a third term, a fourth term. I want to put my daughter in case this is all, he is looking at the monarchy, and he has this incredible narcissistic fantasy that he can do that right here in America. And if we don't vote, we are giving him more oxygen to peel back, more oxygen to make the Klan relevant. This is not about, these people ain't never went away. They just didn't have anybody acknowledging them and giving them relevance. So they're becoming more courageous every day. We have got to meet them where they're at. And we cannot divorce ourselves from our individual responsibility that Black people, absolutely, it's not about Kamala being a VP. That's great. We're not giving no more passes. We did that for 8 years with Obama. We didn't act up like we should have. You need to know, if you actually think acting up is going to be effective, you have to have people in there that are willing to hear what you have to say. They don't care. Mm-hmm. So we've got to be able to at least put somebody in there that we can at least put the fear of God in them, that we're going to mess up the system, and they're not going to want that on their watch. They're going to invite us in. I've been in Roosevelt Room so many times. You can get in there.
Yes, you can.
And you actually can make a difference if there's somebody there willing to listen. Mm-hmm. So let that vote be about you. Let that be about your access, your possibility of making something happen, making change happen.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for.
Oh, go ahead, Sharon.
And I want to say thank you to Tom and Chuck. These weeks, these months, this forum, y'all yin and yang, y'all my boys. But this is awesome. This is an awesome platform. It's an awesome opportunity to cut the food with my boys and my new favorite sister, Joy. And we got to keep this going. But one thing, we don't want to ever end a segment without giving you all a call to action. Mm-hmm. And I mean a call to action. Somebody put a Big Ben Voting Rights Project. I love them. I support them. Them T-shirts came out of my office. They are doing God's work. in the Big Bend area, and it's just a bunch of volunteers that keep growing, and they've done it. They've just been registering people like it's nobody's business, and they did it all from a volunteer base. They're even out knocking on doors again now. You can do it. You can make a difference. If nothing else, all these college kids, every person that you sent a little check to, every Facebook congratulations, just call your girlfriend, call your guy friend and say, I noticed your kid is over there in such and such college. Did you make sure they were registered to vote before they left? What's the accountability measure? Can they vote? Do they need an absentee ballot sent to them? Or are they in a state where their college won't allow them to vote at their precincts? Parents, you all need to know these answers. Godmommies, uncles, aunties, y'all need to know these answers.
Chuck, go ahead. As Sharon lifts the glass, go on ahead, Chuck.
No doubt. I've enjoyed it with you, my brother, and my sisters. I think this has been a great discussion. I think that there's always a silver lining. One of the things that stood out to me, I don't know if y'all caught this, early in the debate, Donald Trump made a comment tonight about Amy Coney Barrett. And what he was referring to was that no matter what happens with the election results, he was intimating that he still had some time even after the election. Did y'all catch that? I intuited from that this is a man who very well understands that he very well could be likely to losing. I know that we don't like to depend too much on polling data, but the polls, Tom, you've been sounding this alarm for about almost 3 months now. The polls are showing that in areas that Hillary Clinton could not clinch victory in the Electoral College 4 years ago, Joe's doing all right. He's either leading by a little or leading by a lot. And so understanding that, I think Trump gets that too. One of the things that's interesting is the Republican Party has always been consistently interested in the judiciary. And I think that one of the things that Trump did tonight, he kept taunting Joe Biden about, are you going to pack the courts? Are you going to pack the courts? That's their biggest fear, because right now, every Republican and conservative in America is ready to run a victory lap, because for the last 35 or 40 years, they have consistently been sounding the theme of wanting to have a conservative majority on the United States Supreme Court so they can overturn Roe versus Wade. And I've always had some thoughts about that too, which is they are not trying to save black babies. When I was growing up, most of the girls I knew that got pregnant early, they had their babies, all right? Because I grew up around black folks. It ain't us that's running to the clinic as much as many of them. And so when you understand that, that's not about saving our lives. It's about saving their numerical majority here in the United States of America, because they are concerned that the browning of America is a very real thing. So having said that, I think that the Mitch McConnells and those of the world, I don't think that they are really that concerned. I mean, of course, they would love to keep the White House. I think they're more concerned about trying to keep a majority in the Senate. And I think they are concerned about trying to get Amy Coney Barrett confirmed, because, again, the crucial case that's coming up, not next year, coming up the week after the election, is on the Affordable Care Act, right? On Obamacare. And so with that in mind, we very well could be looking at a Joe Biden victory on November 3rd, starting the transition, and Obamacare could be gutted once the Supreme Court term is over. So again, those are some issues moving forward that we as Democrats are going to have to push back very hard with, because again, we're so used to being gentlemen and ladies about stuff. At the end of the day, a 6-3 conservative majority, that does need to be on the table. Court packing. We do need to talk about increasing the number of judges, because at the end of the day, if we don't, everything that a potential Biden-Harris administration and or a Democratic Congress, if we take control of the Senate and keep control of the House, will be in peril, because you'd have a 6-3 swiping down everything that you're trying to do. So with that in mind, let's stay focused on that too. I have to say this before I end. Tom, you hit it on the head. Jamie Harrison has a legitimate chance to beat Lindsey Graham. We need to contribute to that campaign. Every dollar helps. $2, $5, $10, contribute. Same for my Morehouse brother, Raphael Warnock. He actually has been endorsed this week by Barack Obama. He's been endorsed this week by Jimmy Carter. He has a chance to defeat Kelly Loeffler coming on November the 3rd. But we need to put the money in there, and we need to make sure that we use our influence, like Sharon and Joy has said, to make sure that all our kin go to the polls and make sure they turn out and vote. So with that, I look forward to having the next forum once we get through with the next debate next week.
I will just close with reiterating a point that Sharon made. And Sharon said that you shouldn't leave this without a call to action. And my call to action this time is twofold. Of course, we need to make sure that everybody votes, but we also need to be very strategic on the additional Senate seats that we have an opportunity to flip. Cory Gardner and McSally did themselves no favors by jumping on the confirmed ACB train. They are in very tough cases. Cory Gardner is behind, McSally is behind, and the moderate voters in those states where this confirmation is way underwater by like 30 points in terms of public opinion. A very small minority of people, and of course we know what party they're in, are for this whole confirmation fight. So we need to be strategic. We need to push getting Jamie Harrison over the line, getting Raphael Warnock over the line. My dream is to get Mitch out, but it doesn't look like right now that is possible, although anything can happen, anything can change, and we need to be a part of that. But most importantly, there's a lot, and Trump has made a lot of mail-in ballots versus in-person voting. And with his Postmaster General, who trashed 700 high-speed sorting machines and has now just said today, after saying he was going to put them back in service, he just today said that they were stripped for parts and are not going to be able to be put back in. With the point that Joe Biden brought up in his closing remarks, where people who vote by mail and maybe don't have the affidavit, or you didn't put it in an envelope inside of an envelope and write your name on the exterior or the inside of the envelope, there's too many things that you can get wrong if you're not in a state where vote by mail is the law. If you're used to voting by mail, if you do it all the time and you know what you're doing, that's fine. Otherwise, in the pandemic, in a time of reduced work hours, in a time where some people are just at home because they haven't gotten their job back, this is the time for you to get up and get to the polls now. You don't want to be in a situation where you thought you had everything covered off, and after Election Day, you find out that your ballot hasn't been accepted. If you do vote by mail and you have a state that allows you to verify whether or not your ballot has been received and is properly registered, then that's okay. But it is not as easy as getting up and physically walking and doing the thing. And it is important not only because we have to set the example, we need people to see us out there and being a part of this process. But if every smart talking, slick photep on Facebook was actually out voting in their own interest just to be able to have a voice, because ain't none of y'all trying to sit there and actually do the work after the election to hold these folks accountable, then we wouldn't have a problem. But you have too many people either caught up in the machismo of a guy who's on his third wife and cheating on all of them, or talking that trash about too many women, putting them in their place. That is resonating with too many Latino men and too many Black men. And that has got to stop. You've got to rise up, represent your people, represent your interests, stop going for the okie doke. Take time. You know, Trump put out a postcard with a whole bunch of BS on a platinum plan. He offered you a cookout instead of offering you Election Day as a holiday. Don't get snookered. Don't go for it. If he really cared about Black empowerment, national elections as a holiday would be a thing. And no Black person would need to fear losing a job or losing a paycheck because they wanted to exercise their franchise. And these are the sorts of things that we need to be on. People say, don't vote against something. Don't tell somebody not to do something. I'm not telling you not to vote for Trump. I'm telling you to vote for you. And voting for you means voting for a candidate, like Sharon said, who will give you a seat at the table. Voting for you means voting for a president that will reinstitute norms, will select people in the cabinet who are actually interested in doing their jobs, who will not try to strip every single thing that this country has provided for the least of us in order to keep the entire country solvent. It is a person who is going to do his best to make this country what it should have always been, has never been, but might be on the road to being again. Like Biden said, build back better. This country needs to be better.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a vision of making America great again. It's about fulfilling the promise that America has never fulfilled. And that's where we need to be. We are going to be with you every single time after all of these debates. We've got 3 more. We're probably going to be dropping some special episodes about the confirmation fight, which happens after this next debate with Kamala Harris and Mike Pence. And we hope that just like tonight, when you came in record numbers to support us, we love the comments, we love your feedback, we love everything and all of the energy that you're giving to us. We want to make sure that you continue to be a part of the Steel Sharpens Steel family. And with that, I'm Tom Cunningham.
And I am Chuck Hobbs.
And we are Steel Sharpens Steel. Goodbye, everybody.